I think that a crash is coming, a crash of proportions that humanity has never seen before, because we have borrowed more resources from the future than what we can pay back in a lifetime. That's going to happen. We are turning into a third world country, especially if they go through. Well, they're not going to have to go through with a $1 trillion coin. From what I understand, they reached some kind of agreement to extend the debt limit through December, I think, or through the end of the year, something like that. So, ladies and gentlemen, this debt limit thing, I was never worried about it, not once. Right? A lot of people email me, left comments saying, what do you think is going to happen to my Social Security or my government pension or this or that if we reach the debt limit and they don't pass a new debt limit? First of all, even if we are on a government pension, and I am, all right, and we are in that, we should want them not to raise the debt limit. Because what we're saying is that, and you know what, I understand we're all in different parts of our lives. We are all different. We all have different lives. We are not all in the same situation. So it may be easy for me to say, but I'm going to say it because it's true. I feel it's true. Even if we are on some kind of a government pension or Social Security or whatever, we should want them to stop borrowing money. We should want our debt ceiling to stop going up. Because, ladies and gentlemen, you've seen with your own eyes in the last couple of years, and it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter who's in office. It doesn't matter who's in office. The financial system by which we are governed, and I say we are governed because we are governed via this financial system. In my opinion, the Federal Reserve is the government. All right? In my opinion, the Federal Reserve is the government, and the corporations own the government as well. So the financial system by which we are governed is broken and it cannot be fixed. So all that we are doing by encouraging or hoping that the debt ceiling is raised so that we don't have to go through pain is putting that burden on to our children, our children's children, and the future generations beyond that. That's what we're doing. I mean, we have to be real with ourselves. What else are we doing if not passing our debt burden onto our children and their children? I mean, a lot of us talk about how we want to be free. Well, the way that they keep us enslaved, mostly, if not all, in this nation and many other nations, is through our debt, is through the financial system. That's the way that they keep us enslaved. So do you want to be a slave or not? And if you don't think that you're a slave in this system, you better wake up and look around. Because everything you do, ladies and gentlemen, takes one of two things. It either takes money or it takes permission. Think of something that you do, that you need to do in order to live, that doesn't take money or doesn't take you asking for permission from some kind of authority figure. Almost everything that you do takes those two things. And that's how they keep us as cattle. They milk us until there's no more milk, and then after that, they throw you away. So, ladies and gentlemen, we should want the debt ceiling not to go up. We need, as a nation, as a people, we need to go through this pain. We need to go through the pain of our financial system ending and becoming a fair financial system where the winners and losers are not chosen by one entity. Think about that. The Federal Reserve / the government, they get to choose who wins and loses. During this last year and a half or so, I can't believe that it's almost 2 years. I can't believe here that in a few months I want to be saying during the last 2 years of this health crisis. I can't believe that I'm saying that, but it's true, I am. But during the last year and a half or so of this health crisis, was it the Walmarts that closed down? Was it the Costco's that closed down? Was it the Sam's Club? Was it the Home Depots? Was it the Lowe's? Now, trust me, I'm a capitalist by nature, meaning that I have no problem with trading fairly. If I want to buy something from you and you're selling it and we agree on a price, I'm all for it. But what I'm not about is crony capitalism, which means that the government gets to decide who wins and who loses by the regulations and the laws that they pass. That's what crony capitalism is, ladies and gentlemen. all of these people that say capitalism is a terrible thing. No, capitalism is freedom. Crony capitalism is where you go. Let me give you a great example. Google, I believe Facebook as well, but Google I'm pretty certain about. They started out with government grants. Governments were giving them grants to start their business. And now they've grown into this huge monster that can pretty much buy government. So now they've used all of their profits that they've gained over the last, 10, 15 years, however long they've been around. Now they use all of those profits that they make to buy off politicians so that the politicians can make laws and regulations that benefit them, but don't benefit the little guys. That is crony capitalism. When a business gets in bed with government and government makes decisions that help that business and don't help anyone else equally, that is crony capitalism. It is, ladies and gentlemen. When the Federal Reserve prints $1 trillion, but only the people that don't need the money get to borrow it at almost 0% interest rates, that is crony capitalism. When everyone else has to borrow it at higher interest rates. That is the government deciding who wins or loses. So what good has this financial system done us? What good has it done you and me? What good has it done the person that has to go out there and actually produce something, produce some kind of value in order for them to put food on the table? What good has it done them? If you've seen my previous videos or my last video, I think it was yesterday, I think I put it up. If you've seen that video, I show you on that video exactly how it is that they steal your labor. They literally steal your labor from you without giving you a choice. They steal your labor. And how do they do that? For some of you that didn't watch that video, through inflation. Because inflation does not only make the price of things go up, it degrades what you can get for your labor. So when they're inflating the money supply and the bigwigs are making all of these profits because there's more dollars in the system, while they're making all of these profits, those profits that they're making of that newly printed money, that is equivalent to the labor that's being stolen from you. It's why today it takes you 10 more minutes of your labor to buy a pound of ribeye than it did 2 years ago. And for those of you that watched that video, you know exactly what I'm talking about. So why would we want this financial system under which we're governed today to continue? What, so that we don't have to have a little bit of pain? That's why we wanted to continue. So that we can just go along to get along? That's why we wanted to continue. Because we won't be around when our children are even more slaves than we are today. That's why we wanted to continue. That's why we're so worried about this financial system continuing. Whenever you borrow more than what you can pay back in your lifetime, you know what that means? It means that you will be poor for the rest of your life, because that means that you will not own your labor. Think about it this way, and I know I'm going on a tangent here, but I just want people to understand. Think about it this way. Let's take a look at student loans. Let's talk about that person, and I know there's a person out there like I'm gonna describe right now. Let's talk about that person who has $480,000 in student loans and gets out of college and they can't get a job but making $15 to $20 an hour. That person has taken out a loan for their future labor. When you take out a loan today, you're saying, okay, in the future, I'm going to make these monthly payments to you in the future. So you're mortgaging your labor. You are mortgaging your freedom, because you're saying, yes, I'm going to work and pay you back this money on monthly installments for the next however many years. We have mortgaged our labor for the rest of our lives as a country. We have mortgaged our labor. And it's a loan that we can never repay. So what does that say? If you take out a loan that you know you can never repay, what does that say? It means that you're going to be working for the rest of your life. because you can never repay that loan back. That's what our government has done with our finances. They keep taking out loans that can never ever be repaid. And the only thing that can back up those loans, that debt that we have, is our labor. That's why I've said several times, it's not the dollar, it's not the oil, it's not the petrodollar that gives value to our dollar. It's not. It is our labor that gives value to our dollar. And it is the ability of the government to be able to take that labor from us in the form of money that we've earned for our time. It is the ability of the government to take that away from us that gives value to our dollar. Because as soon as the government cannot tax us, how are they going to pay the bills? Government doesn't produce anything. Anyone here tell me, what can government make? What product has government ever made that can sell in the market? Nothing, absolutely nothing. They can't make anything. The only thing that they can make in reality is just to bring sorrow upon the world, to bring sorrow upon his people. Well, I mean, we can go into that, you know, and the thing is that, in my opinion, it's not the dollar that destroys the wealth gap. It's the creation of dollars out of thin air. All right? Because there's always going to be poor people, ladies and gentlemen. No matter what, there will always be poor people. You know why? Because we're all different. Some of us have higher motivation levels than others. Okay? Some of us are willing to go out there and work. Some of us are willing to put into practice the lost art of delayed gratification, which I tell my kids all the time. Well, now more little Miss Alaska Prepper than Victor. Do what you have to do today so that tomorrow you can do what you want to do. In other words, make your sacrifices early in life so that later on in life you can enjoy the fruits of those sacrifices. It's like planting a seed. You don't get fruit the next day. That debt, that 28 point something trillion, whatever it is today, is just a mirage that keeps you a slave, because that debt can never, it doesn't matter. It is mathematically impossible for that debt to ever be paid off. Mathematically impossible. There's no possible way that it can happen unless we lived in a different dimension. All right. It's physically and mathematically impossible for it to ever be paid back. They did it this way knowing that it could never be paid back, because we are in a debt-based monetary system. In a debt-based monetary system, the debt can never be paid back. So Woodrow Wilson was it? And Woodrow Wilson acknowledged himself on his deathbed that he sold out the American people. All of these great presidents, ladies and gentlemen, Woodrow Wilson, FDR, Nixon, all of these great presidents that sold us out. And they must have known that at one point their lives would end. So why did they sell us out? If they knew that they weren't going to live forever, why did they sell us out? That I'll never understand. Woodrow Wilson knew exactly what he was doing when he signed into law the Federal Reserve Act back in 1913. FDR, so many people love that guy. But if you just do a little bit of research into FDR, you'll see how he sold out the American people. He sold us out more than once. He sold us out. But people don't want to hear that because they grew up in school hearing what a great man FDR was. Oh, the Great New Deal. He lifted all these people out of poverty, but they don't tell you about when he reduced the value of the dollar by 65, 70%. After he confiscated gold from the people, something that was completely unconstitutional. They don't tell you about that, right? They don't tell you about how unconstitutional his acts were. They don't tell you about how he lied to the American people when it came to gold and the holdings of gold in the Treasury and the Federal Reserve. They don't tell you that that gold that he confiscated from the people, he combined with the gold that the Treasury had and then bailed out the Federal Reserve, because the Federal Reserve was a paper tiger that had absolutely zero gold backing up the U.S. Federal Reserve note. They don't tell you that, ladies and gentlemen. All they tell you, oh, he was a great president. He was, look at that. He was in a wheelchair. How can he not be a great president? All they tell you is the good things that they want you to know or think is true. But that guy sold out this nation more than once. And if you don't believe me, do your research. All right, do your research on FDR and how he sold out this nation. And no, you can't put how did FDR sell out the U.S. On Google. You actually have to go and research the things that he did and how unconstitutional and how detrimental it was to our nation.